Okay, picture this. It's the year 43 BCE. We're in Rome. But this isn't the Rome you're probably thinking of, the one with grand debates and soaring architecture. No. This Rome is tearing itself apart. The Republic is collapsing, and its streets are just filled with chaos and a whole lot of political violence.
And don't just take my word for it. The great statesman Cicero put it best himself. He said, the forum, the very heart of the Republic, it was no longer a stage for eloquence, but a place that ran with the blood of citizens. Wow. This is the incredibly high-stakes backdrop for what becomes one of philosophy's most dramatic final acts.
So that really brings us to the core question here, a question that's as relevant today as it was then. What are you supposed to do when everything seems completely lost? This is the very real problem facing one of Rome's absolute greatest thinkers, Marcus Tullius Cicero, as he's watching his entire world just crumble. So let's talk about our main guy, the last philosopher. Cicero has escaped to his villa out in the countryside. But this is no peaceful retirement, not by a long shot. He's there seeking clarity because his name has just appeared on a prescription list. And what's that? Well, it's basically a political hit list signed by his sworn enemy, Mark Antony. Yep, there's literally an execution order out for him.
And just then, a young friend bursts in, completely frantic. He's got an urgent plea, a warning, really. Antony's soldiers are out there, and they are hunting him down. He begs Cicero, flee, escape to Greece. You can be safe there. You can keep writing. I mean, the choice couldn't be more stark, right?
So now we get to the core of it, the choice. Does he flee or does he stay? I mean, what would you do? Run for your life or stay and face almost certain death? For Cicero, though, this isn't just about survival. It's a deeply, profoundly philosophical dilemma.
Let's actually look at these two paths he's facing. On the one hand, you've got the argument to flee. It's pretty logical, right? Preserve your life, and you can keep doing your important philosophical work. Prudence demands it. But then, on the other hand, you have the argument to stay. And this is all about duty and character. You face what's coming, you avoid looking like a coward, and you become the example you've spent your whole life writing about. And this is where Cicero himself really hits the nail on the head. He asks, should I now, in the twilight of my years, contradict everything I have written? Should I become a living refutation of my own arguments? You see, for him, this isn't just about survival anymore. It's about consistency. Fleeing might save his body, sure, but would it completely destroy the meaning of his entire life? Would his final act turn all his words into a lie? So instead of just panicking, which, let's be honest, most of us would do, Cicero does something pretty remarkable. He turns to philosophy, not as some abstract idea, but as a practical toolkit to reason his way through this literal life-or-death decision. So let's look at the mind's three paths he considers.
Okay, first up is the Epicurean path. The big idea here is that the ultimate goal in life is tranquility, or what they called ataraxia, basically peace of mind. So if political life is bringing you nothing but danger and stress, well, the Epicurean answer is to withdraw from it all. From this point of view, the choice is easy. Flee. Go find some peace and quiet and save your skin. But then he considers a totally different approach, the Stoic path. Now, Stoicism is all about engaging with your duty. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only true good and it's its own reward. That means you have to do your duty, period. It doesn't matter what the outcome is, even if it's death. So for a Stoic, the consequences are irrelevant. Living a virtuous life is everything. This path, it points very, very clearly to staying. And finally, he looks at a third way, the peripatetic path. You can think of this as the Aristotelian, or just the common sense approach. It's all about weighing the practical outcomes. You look at the pros and cons and you ask, which course of action is going to maximize the good stuff and minimize the bad? And you could make a pretty strong case here that escaping to write more philosophy would actually do the most good for the world in the long run. So, after running through all these different philosophical frameworks, the whole debate shifts. It stops being about logic and becomes about identity. This isn't an abstract puzzle anymore. It's about who Cicero is. It's about a life versus a legacy. And this is how he puts it so powerfully. He says he sees two possible narratives for his life. In the first one, he flees. And what does that story teach? It teaches that when the stakes get really high, even philosophers will abandon their principles. But in the second narrative, he stays. And that story, that one teaches that virtue matters more than survival. So which story does he want his life to tell? And this really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. He's asking himself, what is more truly you? Is it the body that survives, the flesh and bone that just wants to be safe? Or is it the principles you live by, the ideas and virtues you spent an entire lifetime building? Which part of you is the real you? So this brings us to the final lesson. After walking through all these arguments, after weighing everything, and really looking deep into his own soul, Cicero makes his last decision. His decision, it's just 3 words, but they're incredibly powerful. I will stay. He's not going to run. He's going to stay and face whatever comes next. The big question, of course, is why? Well, let's break down exactly why Cicero stayed. First, he wanted to live a life that was consistent, one where his actions matched his words, right to the very end. Second, he needed to prove that courage was more than just something to write about in a book. Third, he made a conscious choice, integrity over mere survival. And finally, he saw this as a chance to teach one final powerful lesson, how to die well. And in all of this, he gives us this incredible definition of true courage. He straight up admits it. I am afraid. He's terrified. But then he says, but I act anyway. That, perhaps, is courage. It's not about the absence of fear. It's about acting on your principles despite the fear. What an incredible insight. So in the end, Cicero's decision shows us that philosophy isn't some dusty academic game. It's a real practical guide. It's a way to think, sure, but it's also a way to live with purpose and, ultimately, a way to face death with dignity. And that leaves us with a question that really echoes across more than 2,000 years. Because Cicero's story is a powerful reminder that sooner or later, our principles will be tested. Life is going to call our bluff. So when that moment comes for you, what will your actions teach? What story will you tell?